Hey there everyone. This is the video for Treasure Island Lesson 9. For this lesson we are going over vocab, reading a new chapter, and then we just have some workbook pages to do. And I think it's a pretty short chapter, but it's getting very exciting. We're getting to the turning point in the action. We're getting to the climax of the story. So first we have vocab words on page 73 in your workbook to go over. So let's check those out first. If you hear heavy breathing in the background, it's the pirate dog, Luna, with only one eye, trying to be a part of this lesson. She's very fluffy, so she always breathes like she just ran a mile, even though she's just laying there. All right, on page 73, we have 6 vocab words and 1 word from the chapter that we just need help pronouncing. So first word is truce. And that's a noun, and it's an agreement between enemies to stop fighting for a certain amount of time. So that's like maybe you and your siblings or you and your friends are fighting or having an argument or even play fighting, and then you say, like, all right, truce, let's not fight for a while. So maybe that's not a brand new word for you. Next word is desertion, and that's a noun. It's a departure without permission and without intending to return. The act of giving up and ignoring responsibilities. So it's like if you desert your life or like desert your family and leave because you don't want to do your chores anymore. You're giving up and ignoring your responsibilities. So desertion is, the act of that leaving and giving up, and you don't have permission to leave, but you're leaving. Okay, number 3 is onslaught. Oh, I said that weird. Onslaught. It's kind of a weird word anyway. It's a noun. It means an attack. So onslaught is just an attack. Number 4, I think that's pronounced cutlass. Cutlass. It's a noun. It's a short, thick sword with a curved blade. I wonder if I could find a picture of one real quick. There might be one in our book, but they're all, like drawn, animated. Yep. Okay, found one. It's just like a pirate sword, like what you're imagining, but they're pretty cool. Let me try and zoom in on one real quick. Okay. Take you off my little holder real quick. Okay, so that is a cutlass. Pretty cool. Has a fancy handle and like a curved sword blade. Get you back in my little holder. Okay. Number 5, excursion. That's a noun. It means a short trip. So like an excursion from the ship might be taking one of the lifeboats and heading to the island. A short trip. Number 6 is craft, and it doesn't mean like arts and crafts. It's a different meaning of that word. It's a noun. It is a ship or a boat, like a life craft. Craft is ship or boat. And then words from the chapter. So this word we're going to see here, spelled like that, it says it's pronounced coracle, and we'll see it on page 59. So just when we get there, we'll see what that word means. It doesn't have a definition or anything, just how to pronounce the word. So those are the only vocab words for our chapter. We are reading chapter 6 in our reader. It is on page 52. That's where it begins. So open your reader to page 52, chapter 6, The Plan. You can track along with me as I read it, or fast forward the video to when I start the workbook pages and just read it by yourself. Okay, we're getting to the climax of the story is what it seems like. Last time we left off, we read the chapter about Jim exploring the island, and Long John Silver and his bad buccaneer pirate friends are attacking crew members who don't want to join their side. And then Jim meets the marooned sailor, Ben Gunn, who is part of Flint's crew in the past, and he got left on the island when he couldn't find the treasure for a different crew. So he had been stuck on that island for 3 years, remember? And then the good guys, Captain Smollett and Dr. Livesey and the Squire, and then Jim later, are all in that, it's on the previous page, I had a picture of it, their little stockade fort little hut with the wall around it. So they're stuck in there. They're hiding in there, basically, trying to survive for a little while longer while the pirates are attacking them. Okay, I'm all zoomed in. On page 52, chapter 6, the plan. The next morning, I was awakened by the sound of loud voices. "Flag of truce," I heard someone yell. Then, "It's Silver." So flag of truce is like if you're waving a white flag is a symbol of truce. Like you want to make an agreement, you don't want to fight. So Silver is waving a white flag to truce, or to start up a truce. I got up and rubbed my eyes. Sure enough, 2 men stood just outside the stockade. One of them was waving a white cloth, and the other was Silver himself. "Stay inside," said the captain. 10 to 1 says this is a trick. Then he shouted to the buccaneers, "Who goes there? Stand or we'll fire." "Flag of truce," cried Silver. "What do you want with your flag of truce?" Captain Smollett shouted back. "Captain Silver wishes to make terms," the other man called out. "Captain Silver?" said the captain. "Don't know him. Who's he?" Okay, so the Captain Smollett is being kind of sassy because now Long John Silver is calling himself the captain. So Captain Smollett is like, "Who's Captain Silver? Don't know who that guy is. Don't know any Captain Silver." He's just being sassy. John Silver answered, "Me, sir. These poor lads have chosen me captain after your desertion. Sir, we're willing to submit if we can come to terms and no bones about it." So Long John Silver is saying that Captain Smollett and his guys deserted, like left, just because they wanted to. But they were forced out. They were under attack. They had to leave. So he's lying. Captain Smollett agreed to meet with Silver, and only Silver. Silver threw his crutch over the fence, got a leg up, and with great vigor and skill climbed over the fence and dropped to the other side. "Well now," he said, "that was a good scare you gave us last night. We lost some men, but you mark me, Captain, it won't work twice," said Silver. "We want that treasure, and we'll have it. You would just as soon save your lives, I reckon. We want the map, so if you hand it over, we won't do you no harm." "Not a chance," replied the captain. "Give us the map," said Silver, "and stop shooting poor seamen. If you do that, we'll give you a choice. You can come aboard with us once the treasure is stowed away, and I'll give you my word of honor to put you ashore somewhere safe. Or, if that ain't to your fancy, you can stay here. We'll divide the supplies with you, and I'll send the first ship I sight to pick you up." Seems like pretty fair terms. He didn't mention anything about killing them, so that's nice. "Is that all?" Captain Smollett asked. "Now hear me. If you come up one by one, unarmed, I'll clap you all in irons," which means handcuffs, "and take you home to a fair trial in England. If not, it won't end well for you." Okay, so they're trying to come to an agreement, but they both want very different things, right? Silver wants to find the treasure and then either strand the good guys there or take them off the island and drop them off somewhere safe, which, do we really believe that he's going to do those things? Because I kind of wonder if he's just going to like get the treasure and then kill them anyway, even though he's agreeing to this. But the Captain Smollett says, "Nope, you guys come up here unarmed, so without weapons. I'll put you in handcuffs and take you home to England where you'll go to trial." If they don't agree to that, he says, "It won't end well for you." So, nice threat. Silver looked scornfully at the captain. "Give me a hand up," he cried. So he's like sitting on the ground, right? He doesn't have his crutch. "Not I," returned Captain Smollett. "Who'll give me a hand up?" Silver roared. Not one amongst us moved. Silver had to crawl along the sand, grumbling, till he got close to the door and could hoist himself up on his crutch. Then he spat into the spring. Okay, I'm going to pause for a sec. I had to finish that because over here on page 54 is a full page picture, and it says, Silver looked scornfully at the captain. Give me a hand up, he cried. So here's Silver sitting on the ground next to his crutch. He can't get up by himself, and he's asking these good guys, Captain Smollett and everyone, to help him up. Like, sorry, you're threatening to kill us? Why are we gonna help you? Like, no. So, over here it says he had to hoist himself up on the door. Like, he had to get close to the door and then try to get himself up. Before an hour's out, I'll knock in your old log house. Them that die will be the lucky ones, he cried. So, he said, in less than an hour, I'm gonna knock in your old log house. So he's gonna shoot up the log house, it sounds like. As soon as Silver left the stockade, we returned to our posts and loaded our muskets. There were several small holes in the walls of the log house. We peered out through the holes and waited for the onslaught, which means attack, remember? Put out the fire, shouted the captain. We mustn't have smoke in our eyes. Suddenly, with a loud cry, a group of pirates leaped from the woods on the north side and ran straight toward the stockade. At the same time, gunfire opened from the woods. A rifle ball sang through the doorway and knocked the doctor's musket to bits. The pirates climbed over the fence like monkeys. We fired at them, and immediately 3 of them fell to the ground. 4 others made it over the fence and charged forward. In an instant, they were upon us. Adam, all hands, one of the pirates roared in a voice of thunder. One pirate grasped Hunter's musket and wrenched it out of his hands. With one stunning blow, he laid poor Hunter senseless on the floor. Meanwhile, another pirate appeared in the doorway and descended upon the doctor with his cutlass. The log house was filled with smoke, cries, and confusion. Flashes and the reports of pistol shots rang out. Out, lads, and fight him in the open, cried Captain Smollett. Okay, it does not sound like this fight is going well. Oh, okay, so on these pages there's a big picture of all the pirates kind of on the other side of the wall and trying to climb over, attacking the log house over here. And here's the good guys' muskets pointing out of the windows and holes and stuff, trying to fire back. Okay, down here on 56. I snatched a cutlass and dashed out into the sunlight. Round the house, lads, round the house, the captain cried. I raised my cutlass and ran around the corner of the house. The next moment, I found myself face to face with the pirate named Job Anderson. He roared and raised his cutlass. I leaped to one side and rolled headlong down the slope. Gray followed close behind me and took down Anderson before he had time to recover. So somebody named Gray saved Jim from this Anderson pirate guy. Another pirate was shot while firing into the house. The doctor had taken down a third. Of the pirates who had made it over the fence, only one remained, and he had seen enough. He dropped his cutlass and clambered back over the fence. In 3 seconds, nothing remained of the attacking party but the ones who had fallen. Okay, so they killed all the pirates that came over the fence, except for that one who left, and nobody is attacking. I ran full speed back to the house. Somewhat cleared of smoke, I assessed the price we had paid for the victory. Hunter lay on the ground, stunned. Joyce had been killed. In the center, the squire was holding up the captain, one as pale as the other. The captain's wounded, said Mr. Trelawney. Have they run? Asked Captain Smollett. All that could, returned the doctor, but there are some that will never run again. That's good, cried the captain. That means fewer men. That's better odds than when we started. The mutineers did not return. They had had enough, so we were able to tend to our wounded and get some food. After dinner, the doctor grabbed his hat, pistols, and a cutlass. He slipped the map in his pocket and with a musket over his shoulder climbed the fence, setting off briskly through the trees. Okay, pause. what in the world just happened? So the pirates didn't come back, so they're getting food, tending to their wounded, so they're fixing up their wounded people. But then all of a sudden after dinner, the doctor grabbed hat, pistols, sword, and then he took the treasure map. And then he climbed over the fence and left. Why would he do that? What in the world? Okay, confusing. Is he mad? Gray asked me. I would not have thought him capable of such a thing, I said. I bet he's going to see Ben Gunn. I was right. As I found out later, In the meantime, I had another thought. The house was stifling. That means hot. I began to envy the doctor, walking in the cool shadows of the woods. I longed to escape and set about gathering supplies for my own excursion. I filled both coat pockets with biscuits, then took 2 pistols to arm myself. Okay, so it says later Jim finds out that the doctor wasn't going to go to the pirates, he's going to Ben Gunn. Remember the shaggy marooned guy? And now Jim is preparing for his own little trip away from the house. As for the scheme I had in my head, it was not a bad one in itself. I would go down to the shore and look for Ben Gunn's boat. I knew I was wrong to slip out when nobody was watching, but I was only a boy, and I was determined. So he's basically saying, like, I knew this was a bad idea, but I was only a kid, and I wanted to go. While the squire and Gray were busy helping the captain with his bandages, I bolted into the woods. Before my absence was noticed, I was out of earshot of my companions. This was my second foolish decision, and it was far worse than the first, for there were only 2 honest men left to guard the log house. Much like the first time, though, I did it for the good of us all. So since Jim left, there were only 2 guys to guard the entire log house. That's not a good idea, Jim. I headed up the east coast of the island. After a while, I came out into the sun and saw the sea lying blue and sunny to the horizon, and the surf tumbling its foam along the beach. In the distance, I could see the Hispaniola, the Jolly Roger, waving in the breeze. The sun was setting, and it grew dark in earnest. I knew I must lose no time if I were to find Ben Gunn's boat that evening. The white rock was still further down the sandy spit, and it took me a while to get to it. Below the rock was a little hollow, and tucked away inside, covered in old sackcloth, was Ben Gunn's boat. It was a homemade coracle, a lopsided frame of wood lined with goatskin. It was extremely small, even for me, but it was light and portable. Okay, so coracle sounds like, now that we know the context of it, is a type of little watercraft, a little boat. Okay, next page, 60. I thought the mutineers might be planning to raise anchor and sail away. I wondered how I might be able to prevent this. I could paddle out in Ben Gunn's boat under cover of night, cut the ship loose, and let her drift towards the shore. Sorry, one of my cats interrupting me. I waited for darkness to fall. As the last rays of daylight disappeared, absolute darkness settled over Treasure Island, and I shoved Ben Gunn's boat out to the hollow. The little coracle was a safe boat for someone my size, but she was the most difficult craft to manage. Turning round and round was the maneuver at which she was best. She turned in every direction but the one I chose. So the boat's just kind of going wherever it pleases. It's not really like easy to manage and turn. However, by good fortune, the tide swept me down to where the Hispaniola was anchored. As I drew near, I could hear loud voices in the cabin. One I recognized as Israel Hands, who was having a disagreement with another pirate. Both men were angry, and oaths flew like hailstones. I quietly rowed next to the schooner and then carefully cut the ropes that held the ship in place. The Hispaniola drifted free in the current. To my surprise, the coracle suddenly lurched, She seemed to change course, and her speed had strangely increased. I realized that I was being whirled along by the wake of the Hispaniola. So, Jim's plan was to cut the ropes holding the ship down. So, cut all the anchors. So now the Hispaniola is just like floating freely in the ocean, and his little coracle boat is getting like drug along with it in the wake of the ship. The current turned at right angles, sweeping the tall schooner and the little coracle out to sea. Not knowing what to do, I lay on the bottom of my boat, sure this would be my final day. I must have lain there motionless for some time, but then, even in the midst of my fear, weariness overcame me and I fell asleep. When I woke, it was broad daylight. I found myself tossing about in the boat at the southwestern end of Treasure Island. I was barely a quarter of a mile from the shore, and my first thought was to paddle in. I soon saw the problem with this idea. The coast was rocky, and powerful waves crashed against the rocks. If I tried to land, I might be dashed to death upon the rough shore. I attempted to paddle to a safer landing spot along the cape, but there was no use. Try as I might, the current carried the coracle past the point of the cape. There I beheld a sight that changed the nature of my thoughts. It was the Hispaniola. I knew there were at least a few pirates on board, but I could not see any of them. To and fro, up and down, the ship sailed by swoops and dashes, as if nobody was steering. I thought maybe the pirates had deserted the ship, or maybe they were sleeping. I figured if I could get on board, I could return the ship to the captain. Okay, so first of all, he took this like little boat to go and cut away the big ship, but now the big ship is the one that he wants to get aboard and try and steer that back to his Captain Smollett. Why does Jim think he can drive a giant ship by himself? I don't know. Oh well. I set myself to paddle and did so till I drew up alongside the ship, and the bowsprit was just over my head. Bowsprit. I don't know what that is. Oh, here. I have my diagram of my ship. So, bowsprit, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's that long kind of mast that sticks out the front where these sails attach to it. Okay. So he's right underneath this in the front. All right. I sprang to my feet and leaped up, pushing the coracle underwater. Then, with one hand, I caught the jib boom and pulled myself up onto the deck of the Hispaniola. At first, I did not see a soul. However, on the afterdeck, I discovered the two men who had been left to watch the ship. One was on his back, lifeless. A little further on sat Israel Hands, propped against the ship wall, with his chin on his chest. His hands lay open, and his face was as white as a candle. I saw the signs of a fight and felt sure the two men had killed each other. Just then, Israel Hands gave a low moan. He opened his eyes wearily and caught sight of me. He said only 2 words, "Help me." And that's the end of our chapter. So, Jim got to the ship. There's only 2 people on it. One is pretty dead. And then the other is Israel Hands, who is very injured, close to death. Bummer for him, I guess, but he is a pirate. He's a bad guy, so I don't know how bad I feel. Okay, so that was our whole chapter, the plan. Now we have some workbook pages. Okay, so the vocab was on page 73. Our first take-home page is on page 75, and it's an excerpt from the chapter we just read. So part of this you're doing, part of it you're not. I know sometimes these take-home pages are optional. The rereading is optional, okay? You don't have to reread this part again because we just did it. So don't worry about rereading that. It's page 75, 76, 77, but on the back of page 77, so page 78, we have some questions to answer, and we are answering them because there are not any long comprehension question pages about this chapter. It's just these three. So we have to do these three questions. 1, 2, and 3 on page 78. First question says, why do you think Captain Smollett says he doesn't know who Captain Silver is? So I kind of explained it. He was being sassy, like, he's the captain. You're not the captain. So he's saying, I don't know who that is. So you have to explain, why do you think he says that? Okay, number 2, why do you think Captain Smollett and his men refuse to give Silver a hand up? So why don't they help him get off the ground? That one should be a pretty easy one to answer, right? Silver is a bad pirate. Nobody wants to help him, but explain that here. And then number 3, summarize this scene in your own words. So I don't know if by this scene it means just that interaction, you know, when Silver comes to try and make a truce, or if it means the entire chapter, but that's up to you. You can summarize the whole chapter or just the conversation that Captain Smollett and Silver have to try and make a truce, okay? So you have to do page 78. You can pause the video now and do it, or you can do it at the end after we finish the rest of the pages. That's up to you. On page 79, relative pronouns, we are going to skip for time. If you would like to do it, if you want to try it, go for it. By all means, you definitely can. It's just extra practice of some grammar skills, but sometimes we have to skip pages in our workbooks. It's page 79, 80, and 81, okay? So it's a lot of pages. You can skip it or you can do it. It's up to you. Page 83 we are doing. It is some morphology vocabulary work with our prefixes im and in and root words port and bio. So remember, im and in both mean not. Port means carry. Bio means life. So there's only 4. There's some on the back, but there's only 4 fill in the blanks right here. So there's a sentence, and your options for which word you want to put in the blank are underneath in the parentheses. Okay, so if you want to pause the video real quick and try these 4 by yourselves, and then check with the video after you're done, you can do that. I'm going to go through and do them now, though. Number 1, my sister said that it was blank to be afraid of the dark, but my dad told me that even adults are afraid of things. That's true. Okay, so it was important to be afraid of the dark. It was independent to be afraid of the dark. It was immature to be afraid of the dark, or it was inaudible to be afraid of the dark. I'm going with immature. Okay, so the sister said it was immature to be afraid of the dark. It is definitely not. I'm afraid of the dark, and I'm very mature. Just kidding. Okay, number 2. I wanted to be blank and make some money of my own over the summer, so I mowed lawns and took care of gardens for my neighbors. Okay, I wanted to be important and make some money of my own. No. I wanted to be independent and make some money of my own. I wanted to be immature and make some money of my own. I wanted to be inaudible and make some money of my own. I'm going with independent. Okay, that means they wanted to make their own money. They didn't want to have to be dependent on anyone else. Not dependent. Independent. Number 3. I slept through my alarm because the volume was turned down so low that it was blank. So the volume was so low it was important. Volume was so low it was independent. Volume was so low it was immature. Or volume was so low it was inaudible. Remember, audible means you can hear it. So inaudible means you cannot hear it. Inaudible. That's a bummer. I've definitely slept through an alarm before. Okay, and last one. My teacher says that it is blank to be important. Whoa, I told you the answer. My teacher says that it is blank to be on time for class so that you do not miss anything. And I said it already for some reason. Okay. It is important, and it's the only one we haven't used. Important to be on time for class so that you do not miss anything. Definitely. All right, that's that page. 84 on the back though, we've got some more to do. Okay. On the back of 84, it's still working with in and im, still working with port and bio. So it says working in pairs, but most of you don't have another sibling in 4th grade. Some of you do. Looking at you, Grayson and Broden, and Aiden and Connor, and John and Nate. But if you don't, you're working by yourselves to write a complete sentence for each of the following words. Gotta use correct capitalization and punctuation. So you're just writing a sentence with these words in them. You're not explaining what they mean or anything like that. Just come up with a sentence with the word porter in it. Remember, porter means somebody who carries something. Immeasurable means, well, able means can, measure, and im means not. So you cannot measure it. So something immeasurable is something you can't measure. Oh my gosh, I wish I could show you guys. It's too far down the street, but there's like a party of like 6 little bunnies just hopping around in the road. Super cute. Okay. Next word is biodiversity. So that's, you know, all the life and all the living things that's in the world. Amphibious. That's kind of like able to live on water and land. So things like frogs, salamanders, stuff like that. And then the challenge one, write a sentence that uses one word with the prefix im or in, and one word with the root port or bio. So that's 2 different words. One with im and in, or in. One with port or bio. Okay? So this is going to be a challenging page, but I think you guys are up for it. Do your best. Capitals and punctuation. And that's pretty much the end of the lesson because the next page is practicing your spelling words. And if you watched the previous video when we introduced the spelling words, obviously I can't really do a spelling test for you guys from home. So these are optional spelling words. You can do this if you would like to. It's always good practice to, you know, work on your spelling. All of us can improve our spelling. And these are difficult words, probably not ones you're going to use very often in your life, but still, good to practice, okay? So you just write a sentence using each spelling word. There's a back page for more sentences. Okay, so you do 5 on this side, 5 on the other. And that's it. That's the end of the lesson. So, hope you guys enjoyed the chapter. Good luck with the comprehension questions and the vocab sentences. Bye, guys.